I almost killed myself by going vegan. I was vegan for about 10 years, and I went vegan when I was in high school. And the reason why I wanted to make this video is because I wanted to share my story about going vegan. And if you're thinking about going vegan at all, maybe this video might help you out. But also, I wanted to talk about how veganism was really pushed for a long time, and I'm not sure if it's still being pushed now, because as I've gotten older, I've stopped paying attention to a lot of news and a lot of other people. I've been more so in my own world. I'm a lot more strict on what I allow myself to consume in terms of content, and I also just have a bigger guard up now for other people's ideas and information. I was probably about 18 back in 2012 or 2011, and I saw all the videos with the way that the cows were being treated and everything, and so I still agree with that. I do think that our food system, the way we treat the animals, all of that stuff is horrible. I don't want to participate in that at all, and that's the only thing that I do stand by that when it comes to the idea of being vegan. I do agree with the vegan community in that the way animals are treated, it's horrendous, and I don't want to support that industry at all. But it is very difficult to be able to manage a vegan diet and still be healthy. So essentially what happened to me was, I first started going vegan when I was a senior in high school. I used to play football in high school, and after football season, this was towards the end of the first semester, which was probably around December, and I didn't go vegan when I was playing football. I needed to make sure that I still had all my strength and energy and everything. And I guess that should have foreshadowed, or it should have told me something, that I kind of had this, I knew in the back of my mind that I couldn't go vegan while I was playing football. And that should have been the first sign to me that I shouldn't have gone vegan. And I wish I would have had somebody, an adult, somebody would have told me that, hey, you shouldn't go vegan. I was just really young. I was raised by a single mother, and I was really stubborn in my ideas when I was young. So either way, after football season, I decided I was going to go vegan, and I did. And this was my senior year in high school, and it was great. The very first few years from 2011 to 2012, I felt amazing. It felt like I had all this energy. I felt my mind was a lot clearer. I felt like I could focus a lot more. And I was chalking this all up to having a vegan diet. And I was just like, it was all, the reason why I was feeling better and why I had a lot more energy was because when I first started going vegan, I quickly eliminated a lot of fast food. And when I was in high school, I was eating a lot of fast food. I was eating Taco Bell, McDonald's, well, actually not McDonald's, but Taco Bell and all the other stuff and everything. And when I went vegan, sure enough, a lot of those got cut out. I couldn't eat them while also being vegan. And that was the reason why I started feeling better. But I was really stupid. I didn't put two and two together. I wasn't really thinking about that. I was just thinking, wow, this vegan diet is a freaking miracle. It's amazing. I feel great. This was the diet that was meant for me all along. And maybe we aren't supposed to eat meat and everything. And so yeah, it was going very well for a very long time. And I think when I first started going vegan, I was fortunate enough to be in a better financial position, and I was able to splurge on all these really cool foods and go all out with all of the vegetables and everything, and supplements, all the stuff. I used to take spirulina and vitamin B6 or 12 or whatever, I forget. We had all these tinctures and everything. And I went vegan with my girlfriend at the time. We were high school sweethearts and everything, and she was very involved in health, and she used to work at this supplement shop, and so she would always get all these cool supplements and everything, and we went vegan together. And so I had her there, and she was always bringing all these cool supplements from her job and everything. And so it was really nice for the longest time. And then what ended up happening was that, I guess 5 years into going vegan, as things started to get more busy, I ended up going to university. I transferred from my community college, and I went to the University of California, Berkeley. And when I was there, time was getting, I had very little time. I was super busy, and I needed to be able to eat while on a budget and make something really quickly. So I ended up just defaulting to these vegan chicken strips from Trader Joe's, and I got these tortillas, and I would just make like these chicken ketchup burrito things, and I would just really eat extremely poorly. I wasn't getting in all of the micronutrients, and the only thing I really focused on, because I was really focused on working out. And here's the thing, when I was vegan, I was extremely into bodybuilding and going to the gym. I was one of those vegan bodybuilders and stuff. And I didn't say that I was a vegan bodybuilder or anything like that. I didn't like wear that as a badge. I hardly talked about being vegan. I did it more so just because I didn't want to participate in the food system and the way that animals were being treated. And so I always had this plan when I first went vegan. I always told people that I'm only vegan now because I don't want to support all of the meat factories and everything. And I know I don't want to eat that meat. In the future, I want to be able to get my own meat, raise my own meat, or go hunting and everything. And so that I know that I'm eating animals that were taken care of at least. And this was like before grass-fed beef and all this pasture-raised stuff was going around. It wasn't that big at the time. And also, when you do think about pasteurized meat, or not pasteurized meat, I mean grass-fed beef that was grown or that was raised in without being stuck in cages and everything, it is really expensive. And at that time, I just didn't have the money to pay for that. So I always planned for the future that, when I'm done with university and when I start making more money, I'll raise my own animals. I'll go hunting and hunt elk and everything. And so that was the plan. When I was in university and I was eating a lot of those beyond meat type of alternatives and stuff, tofu and everything. I just was really eating processed foods for the most part, and it destroyed me. It completely destroyed my body. I was exhausted all the time. I started getting tired, and I didn't really mind it. I always had this mindset that, like, I'm just being a bitch, for lack of a better term. I would tell that to myself when I was around 21, 22, 23. I would just say, dude, why are you being such a bitch? Come on, just like, screw being tired. Get a cup of coffee and just grind. I would go to the gym and I'd be really winded. It was really tough going to the gym. And so the way that I like to describe this was, when I was vegan, I was playing life on hard mode. That's it. I would say that to after I got through this journey, and at the end. And so I'm at the end of this video, I'm gonna get to the first time I ate beef again, and then what it was like going back to eating meat. And it's freaking wild. But either way, now I tell people that I was living life on hard mode, essentially, and being able to focus. I was essentially just malnourished and deficient in all these important nutrients and minerals. And when I was trying to study, and when I was trying to work out and do all these things, it was extremely difficult, because my body was just telling me, dude, you are tired, you are exhausted, you need to go eat some food that nourishes you and everything. And I just wasn't listening to my body at all. I thought that it was just life, life is tough, you get tired. I thought that I was just working really hard and studying really hard, which I was, but it was that wasn't the reason why I was so exhausted. So getting through one gym session was extremely difficult, and I always thought that it was just because working out was hard. Through this time, I had horrible social anxiety, or it wasn't even social anxiety. I just had high levels of anxiety, I became extremely depressed, and I had all these problems for the longest time. I had all these mental problems, and I always wondered to myself, what the hell's wrong with me? Because when I was younger, I was always very sociable. I was extremely extroverted. I was the extrovert type. I was always talking to everybody. I had a lot of friends in high school, and that's it. I was just really outgoing. And so I was used to my entire life, I was just used to that. I was used to being somebody that was highly sociable. And when I was in my 20s, when I was the big period of being vegan, I became extremely antisocial. I had high levels of anxiety and social anxiety. I had depression. I had no idea what depression was. I didn't even know what social anxiety was. When I first had anxiety, I was like, what the hell is this? I guess I must just be hungry. And I always just said, okay, I must be hungry. And so I'd go get a slice of bread or something or make a vegan sandwich, and I'd eat that. And I think placebo would fix it for a little bit, and I'd tell myself, oh, okay, I'm good now. I ate and I'm fine. But it kept persisting. I kept getting nervous when I was around people and talking to people, and I constantly had negative thoughts. And I felt like I just turned into a woman, and my testosterone just tanked, and it was all bad. And so I thought that this was a problem with me. Like, I thought that this was just like a DNA problem. I'm like, okay, there's something wrong with me. This has to be, this is me. My family probably has a problem and stuff. Maybe we have mental health issues. And like, here's all the thing. You hear people talking about mental health issues and all this stuff. Oh, I have mental illness. And so with all this, I'm going to UC Berkeley. I'm in a liberal state and everything. With all this talk of veganism is good, you could go vegan and you're going to be healthy and everything. And then mental illness is increasing. You might have mental illness. Everything is DNA and stuff. So I have all these thoughts in my head where I'm like, okay, maybe I have mental illness. Maybe I have a social anxiety problem or an anxiety problem. And then I'm diagnosed with depression and all this stuff. And then, it runs in my family. My DNA is telling me that this is just my DNA and this is just what I have to go through. And luckily I didn't take any antidepressants or SSRIs. I'm so glad I didn't do that. I feel like that would have just screwed me up a lot more. But that I was certainly on the path to that because it was difficult. I was miserable. It was almost like I was living in hell for that period of 8 to 10 years. And it was a huge waste of time. I feel like I lost a lot of my potential and everything. And I think it even stunted my growth. And it was just all bad. It was a horrible decision. And I'm not saying veganism is entirely bad. I perhaps you can go vegan if you have the money to buy these vegetables that from like places where the soil is nutrient rich, and if you do it properly where you get blood tested and you make sure you're hitting all your micronutrient markers and your macronutrient markers, I'm sure it could be good. But at the time I was in university, I didn't have the money for all this stuff. I didn't have the time. I didn't dedicate time to this. And so as a consequence, I just was extremely malnourished. And it was hell. And it was hard mode. I got through studying, and I was able to graduate. I was able to get a job. I was able to do all that stuff, even while I was extremely malnourished. And yeah, so luckily, what ended up happening was, I think it was about 2 or 3 years outside of university. I went and I worked at Airbnb. I left Airbnb and I went and I moved in with my friend in Sacramento, California. So I was working at Airbnb in San Francisco, moved back to Sacramento, and I was just having all the anxiety was persisting, the depression was persisting, and I just said, you know what, I'm going to this is actually what happened. I saw Jordan Peterson talk about the all meat diet. I started watching Joe Rogan talking about elk meat and everything. And so I decided, you know what, screw it. I'm going to start eating meat because I want to see what happens. And the first thing that I ate when I started eating meat again, and this is hilarious, was an In-N-Out burger. In-N-Out was the first thing that I ate when I broke my vegan diet. And the funny thing was that when I first ate the burger, I got this tingling sensation throughout my body, and I felt extremely freaking good. I felt like I was high. It was weird. It felt like I took a drug, and I was like, dude, I feel so... I wasn't saying this to anybody. This was all in my head. I'm talking to myself in my head. I'm like, wow. I feel... like, it felt like when I... and I know this might not sound believable, but it's true. When I ate the In-N-Out burger, I felt like there was this bubble of protection around me. And it was so weird. I just felt really good. And I believe that might have just been my body responding to getting the nutrients that it needed. I'm not saying that In-N-Out is nutritious, but the beef perhaps had the nutrients that I needed, it just, on top of like it also being extremely high dopamine and everything. But nonetheless, a couple weeks later, I went to a meat butcher and I got fresh cut. Well, it wasn't fresh cut, but I got these venison flanks. And then I went home and I cooked these venison flanks with my friend and we ate them together. And again, I had another feeling. I felt very good. And it was an extreme dopamine rush and everything. And yeah, and then after that, I started going all out. I wanted to get all of the best meats that I could. So I started getting salmon. And then I was getting grass-fed beef. And I just started including all of these things like sardines and all these forms of meat. I started getting pasture-raised eggs or pasture-raised chicken eggs. And yeah, once I started eating and a good diet with good meat, good eggs, and the like, I felt amazing. It was almost like the anxiety just washed away. And one of the biggest things that my friends noted was that, and my sister and my family, they said that when I was vegan, my skin was very pale. Like they said I looked like my skin was, again, it was just like I had no color. And then all of a sudden, after I started eating meat, and about a year into eating meat, or about a half a year, 6 months, my skin started coming back. My skin color started coming back. I started getting a lot darker, so more of like a caramel type of skin. That's my skin type. And this is something to talk about too. Some people won't, depending on your family, people won't tell you these things that are really important. Like nobody told me, none of my family members told me that my skin was extremely pale and I was looking extremely unhealthy. And I don't know why. That's crazy. If they would have told me that, I would have been able to solve this problem a lot earlier, but I don't know. So that's just something to think about. People aren't always going to be checking up on you and making sure that you're doing what's best for you. You have to really make sure you're taking care of that yourself. And yeah, I mean, that's probably really bad for my family and everything. But either way, yeah, so I started getting my skin color back, and I was just a hell of a lot healthier. I didn't get any of these tests for my testosterone or my nutrient levels and everything. I should have gotten those things checked out. But either way, when I stopped being vegan and I started eating good meat, good eggs and everything, I felt a hell of a ton better, and everything became super easier. It became super easy to focus and do work. All of it, just everything became easier. And I was like, dude, holy shit. Like, playing life on hard mode, I was able to do it on hard mode. Now going to the gym and doing all this work is like a piece of cake. I could do anything. This is supreme. It was just ridiculously easy compared to the way that I was living for the longest time. And it was a complete game changer for me. And it was so funny. I regret it so much. I believe I might have hindered my physical growth, and I think that was a really bad thing. So if you're thinking about going vegan, it's something that you should be really cautious about. I think that meat is a very dense food with respect to nutrients. It has a lot of nutrients in the food. And so I'm getting distracted. There's somebody driving by right now. But I think that meat, it's a really dense food with a lot of important nutrients, and it's one of the easiest ways to get these nutrients. I believe maybe you can get rid of meat and the certain kinds of foods if you're able to get those macronutrients and those macronutrients. You just have to be particular and make sure that you're actually getting them, and that's that. So if you're thinking about going vegan, be extra cautious. If right now you are somebody who's experiencing some sort of depression, some sort of anxiety, social anxiety, the first thing that I would check, especially if you're a male, check your testosterone levels. When you have low testosterone levels, it could really affect that. I believe my testosterone levels tanked when I was vegan, and I think that was a huge reason why I was experiencing high levels of antisocial tendencies, as well as high levels of depression. My depression, I didn't have depression. It was literally my body was depressed because it's like, dude, you're killing me. Why are you doing this? Stop doing this. And it was a signal. So if you're dealing with these things, check your testosterone levels, check your diet. The first thing to get into order is getting good sleep, getting good food, and making sure you're getting your micronutrients. So one of the most we're human beings, especially in the West, not people in the West and Americans, we are highly deficient in magnesium. Magnesium is one of the minerals that have just gone from the food because of the bad soil and all of the refined products. So most people are deficient in magnesium. If you're deficient in magnesium, it could cause a lot of irritability, social anxiety, and all that stuff. So make sure your magnesium levels are good first. That's at least from my experience. But yeah, either way, if you're young, if you're in your 20s, even if you're in high school right now and you happen to see this video, just be careful with huge dietary decisions. If you have a diet that you've been eating and you've been feeling fine, just make sure you're particular with how you change the diet. If you remove something, remove it for a while and see how you do and everything. But I guess the whole point is that limit the amount of processed foods, limit the amount of all of these horrible fast foods and everything, and try to eat whole foods and good beef and all that other stuff. And yeah, but be very careful with your diet. My name's Roman Kenrick. This YouTube channel is just about some of these kinds of things and everything. So yeah, if this story was helpful for you at all, leave a comment, and yeah, I hope to see you around. Take care.